like crypt horrors and whatnot, but it looks like that's not going to be the case. My ally here has pulled up, thank God, with some Hellstorm rockets. And the nice thing about these is, well, they have extreme range, so these campers are going to get a taste of their own medicine as we park ourselves up here and just fire away at them, totally out of range, which is freaking awesome for us. Look at those huge chunks we're tearing into the enemy main line. So they're sitting here idly in the corner, just jam-packed into a position where we can deal lots of damage. Looks like my ally has also summoned a Manticore, which is great for us. Boom. This is awesome. So this is what you get when you end up camping without the artillery superiority, and they're forced to kind of sit here and take it. So it looks like the vampires are going to start to kind of shuffle around and think that they have to do something. The artillery is also starting to move in, and as they start to deploy, well, we're going to use this kind of rejiggering of the lines as a moment to charge forward with my guys, cover the beaten zone whilst the artillery is still deploying, and now we're going to start to run, sprint as fast as the stunty legs can take them. The Empire force, kind of allied to me, has one great cannon, and then the Hellstorm rocket battery that's continuing to get some volleys off. He has an Amber Wizard who summoned a Manticore and Carl France, and then his main line back here is essentially going to be a spear, a couple swordsmen, halberds, and crossbows. So relatively kind of weak force. Oh, okay, there we go. He's got 2 more units. So relatively weak-ish force, but on medium funds he does pretty well, especially with this air power that you can summon. This is pretty good for keeping lords at bay, and then his cannons and artillery is perfect. I even have my own Grudge Thur here. It's the one that launches goblins, and the reason I brought this is because I want to do a lot of morale damage to the enemy. So I'm going to start targeting this force here, plus the Hellstorm. So not only with the damage that we're able to do, but also the morale debuffs that you're able to put on the enemy is going to be awesome. So we're going to start to get some of these guys routing. The Rusty Arrows already targeted, and then up to the front, my Lord, 2 ethereal units are going to get at each other. But what I'm going to be able to do is with this guy, I'm going to be able to pop some abilities on him that allows him. Ooh, and he does get the first blow. So he's going to pop some abilities. Boom, here to have more magical resistance, and I just tear this Banshee apart, and it immediately gets on out of there. So that was a pretty devastating blow to the enemy hero, and we're continuing to deal damage to the main line. My Lord is going to kind of decapitate this ghost right in front of the enemy lines, and now she's starting to rout. We tear at her, pull her back, and she dies. So point blank, we're cheering at the enemy, and that looks pretty cool. So a couple of Troll Hammer torpedoes landing amidst the enemy, casting a bunch of spells on these zombies to do a lot of damage, and now the charge is underway. My lords are gonna boogie on out of there and let the Longbeards here try and take this charge. Troll Hammer, torpedoes, and gunners focusing on the right side. Let's put this on slow motion real quick to see what's going on. So here, the Stearns Guard, these are Stearnsmen, excuse me. These are going to be some of the best infantry you can bring as the vampire count, so they're going to tear through my dwarf warriors. Front ranks with the Longbeard should hold out pretty well, and I'm reinforcing them with more dwarf warriors. Meanwhile, my lord is going to go toe-to-toe with this force, push back the Mortis engine, and then all along the line, we're kind of encountering the enemy. This Crypt Horror is being focused fire by Troll Hammer torpedoes, gunners, and other units, and I'm saving my Slayers for the time being. Empire Force is pulling into position with crossbows targeting Crypt Horrors. Meanwhile, the back ranks is now starting to focus fire on my guys. They're going to start targeting my elite units. For the time being, they're focusing fire on the Peak Gate Guard, which is a good move on their part. They definitely want to take these guys out, but now we can see as some of our volleys land amongst the enemy. And now let's watch these Crypt Horror Force blow through my Dwarf Warriors. They're going to get back up, and I think they do more damage with their flaming axes. And with close support here, we're going to do really well, I believe. I'm also calling in some support of the Slayers. And look at the enemy hill taking fire. Yeah, punishing damage being dealt to these guys. And now we can turn on some of these Cairn Wraiths that would otherwise pretty much tear through some basic spearmen, but now they're just shattering Up through the front, Graveguard against Swordsman. Yeah, we're losing out fairly well. In the center, I'm doing okay. My heroes are tearing it up in the center, and then I'm forcing the Mortis engine back with both of my lords. Karl Franz is helping to see back enemy forces. He's going to charge and hit those hammer and anvil troops. My main line, meanwhile, is kind of crumbling under the Graveguard and Tithe zombies, plus these Stearnsmen against my cheap dwarf warriors with great weapons, so it's kind of biding time. Let's take a look at some of my units in back here, my gunners. Giving some supporting fire. And they're just trying to save the day. Clean up some of the action here. Oh my god, look at the clusters of goblins in the distance being taken out by artillery. Pretty epic, but now this Mortis engine being targeted with everything we have, it is going to be forced away. Really not taking a big part in the battle, and then my lord chases after him. And just all these idle goblins reduced to giblets. Not much left. Although they do still have actually a war boss left over, so he's going to try and charge in, plus a goblin war boss as well. So my hero here is going to try and get into the mix, and he takes a pretty punishing first strike from that war boss, who's going to start casting abilities. They pop all sorts of stuff on me. I'm going to try and pop abilities from my Rune Lord. Oh my god, this is actually, I want to put this on pause just to take a look at some of the stats here. This is interesting. So if you look at my hero, what is Itchy Nuisance, so minus 22% weapon damage, minus 30% melee attack, and then I'm trying to get damage resistance in here, but the damage I'm starting to sustain is pretty punishing, so we'll see how that goes. I'm bringing in all my support fire to try and take these out, but the artillery has taken out my heavy hitters, the Iron Drake torpedoes. They've been hammering my rear line, so a lot of my units in the back are actually starting to rout. However, we do have some artillery still battering the enemy. On this front, our cluster of troops has carved a line through the enemy, and now we're going to be getting at the Graveguard, and the allied heroes are doing a good job keeping the enemy at bay. So that's that. Let's get back to the action. We're in this copse of trees. My hero is going to try and hold out against two enemy war bosses, and yeah, the enemy units are going to start firing away at me, and this is going to prove pretty devastating. I'm calling for aid from my ally to try and come in, but he is kind of just sitting there. Really need his help because my hero's health is draining. I believe, yeah, Sundered, so minus 32 armor from these error boys, or not error boys, but goblin archers is going to be really bad for me. And now finally the Amber Wizard is going to come into the rescue. It couldn't be sooner. Demigryph Knight's also going to come in, charging all these guys, so they're going to see the enemy off, or at least delay them and pin them back. I'm going to try and pull back. We do have the Goblin War Boss is seen off, and then we shatter the other war Boss. So my guy is still alive, but the Graveguard close in, and as I'm trying to pull away, as we're consulting the runes, we're going to get chased off the battlefield, and that is actually going to be it for my Lord. So he routs and he breaks at that point, but my other Lord is alive and well, getting lots of kills on the enemy position, storming their main line here. Ooh, looks like we get a sick kill on the Mortis engine. The explosion on that is awesome. And then we clean up the remainder. The concentration of vampiric forces, yeah, again, not being able to do too much, and now critical binding, and they just all go up in flames. The Necromancer here trying to do something to rally him, but he's got an arrow to the throat from the crossbows, and he goes down too. So hopefully this is a lesson to all campers. One, don't do it, and two, don't do it this badly. If you're gonna camp, at least, well, no, I shouldn't be telling people to bring better units, but don't. This is a poor tour de force for campers. Terrible build, terrible choice of staging position, and yeah, they got absolutely shreked by our guys. So I hope it was a fun battle that you did enjoy. I definitely did, despite it being a bit campy, but I think that made it a bit more cinematic in the end. Anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy. Again, big shout out to the people who make these maps. I mean, this is so ominous and scary and cool. Really like this. Hope they keep it up. And yeah, I do hope that we get a mod tool soon so that the community can take their hands, try their hands at creating their own custom maps, maybe even with defensible settlements and whatnot. That'll be sweet. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Let's take a look at some of the final stats and see how things played out in the end. Let's see. Yeah, so take a look at this force, Bear 8901. No kills on like any of his mainline troops. A couple on his artillery, Goblin and Rock Lobbers here and there, so they got a fair amount of kills. Overall, myself, most of the kills going to my King Lun Iron Hammer. Slayer's doing pretty well, and my own artillery actually doing far better than his against the troop concentrations. Dwarf Warriors pretty much fodder, so overall doing fairly well. I mean, it was kind of medium-sized troops. Jerry Springer here, 146 with the Hellstorm Rocket Battery. It was raking in the kills. Amber Wizard, heroes always getting a lot, and the rest of supporting troops doing okay. Vampire Force here. This Sternsman Graveguard unit does usually end up paying for itself. It's very, very good, especially if you get it up against kind of mid-tier infantry. It'll tear through it. Graveguard here doing fairly well, and the rest just not making a showing. Especially these Crypt Horrors, they way underperformed, but that's mostly again due to the fact that I was able to concentrate on them with these forces and then get some of my Slayers in the mix to finish them off. So well executed for me and my ally, and yeah, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out.